the woman behind the coffee brand, the coffee line that I am drinking. If you all have ever heard of Blackology Coffee, Blackology Coffee, you are in for a treat because the CEO of Blackology Coffee is on with us today. Her name is Lori Jones. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio real quick, and we're going to hop right in. This is very exciting, very exciting. All right, meet Lori Jones, owner and CEO of both Jonesy's LLC and Blackology Coffee Company, former head chef for an amazing sorority at UNC Chapel Hill, and resourceful mother of two boys. Though donning several different hats throughout her day, Lori yet manages to make time to pursue her dreams. Let's read some of her story through the pandemic. The COVID-19 shutdown compelled Lori to reflect on her life and dreams. Her time of reflection led her to create and devise a plan to manifest those dreams. Jonesy's LLC and Blackology Coffee Company. Jonesy's LLC is a natural skincare company that launched April 2020. Blackology Coffee Company officially launched on July 13th, 2020. The focus of Blackology Coffee Company is to cultivate a love of Black coffee by way of the community, the development of relationships, and the tool of education. Coffee has always been my passion, been Lori's passion. For years, her colleagues and friends would come to her to inquire where they could find the best coffees. Thanks to Blackology Coffee Company, they know. So let's go ahead and get into this episode. Let's all welcome Lori Jones. Miss Lori Jones, everybody, let's give her a round of applause for being here.
Hey, how's it going?
I am doing well. I am doing well. Go ahead and tell everybody just a little bit about yourself.
About myself, I am a single mom of two boys. I am an entrepreneur, a creative, a chef, a coffee snob, a skincare, I won't say expert, but curator maybe. I don't know, just a lover of all things, someone who enjoys seeing people smile. Um, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
And you're based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Is that where you're from?
Yes, I am. Well, I am born Memphis, Tennessee, but raised Raleigh, North Carolina.
That is fantastic. All right, let's get into this, okay? In the midst of a pandemic and economic insecurity, what motivated you to start not one, but two companies?
Wow. Well, after being laid off, I went into a little bit of a dark place. I was, kind of panicky, trying to figure out how, as a single mom with no income coming in, figure things out. And with all of that stress, actually, Jonesy's kind of came about. Jonesy's came about after I had some kind of weird rash, just like took over my body, my entire body. Turns out it was related to stress. But I had used to work at Earth Fare, which was a natural kind of grocery store. And I knew what essential oils and things like that would help calm inflammation of skin and things like that. So I was like, let me whip some up. Made a little too much. Folks were kind of interested in buying some. And then I started making soaps and things like that and created like this perfect solution for eczema that people really started to love. So that's where I started, and the skincare really started taking off. And then literally with the coffee, I've been trying to launch the coffee for like 4 years now. And different things were happening, preventing me from launching. I guess it just wasn't the time, but I am spiritual and also believe in God, things like that. So one night I got a message, sat up straight up in bed, and it was like, oh, time to launch the coffee business. And I'm like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, I don't have money to launch a business. Like, what are you talking about? But I, after much persistence, I went ahead with it, and everything that I needed fell in my lap. Like, I can't put into words the things that happen because they make no sense to a lot of people. Just the series of things that happen. Um, and here we are. Like,
Now, are you from an entrepreneur type family? Like, were your parents or siblings or anybody else, were they in the space of owning businesses, starting businesses?
yeah, my mom was. She was also a creative. My dad was more corporate America for a pharmaceutical company, but he was always like I would always see them working. Um, so even after coming home from work, there were still things that they did, and that was kind of a norm for our family to still have time together, but things keep going after the fact. And then even with my mom, with one of the positions that she held, her creative side allowed her to, create some different tools and mechanisms for the mortgage company that she was working for. So kind of watching those things kind of lit a little fire in me.
So the main concept, is folks, if they get laid off or if the pandemic has caused them to be furloughed or whatever, the main thought is let me tighten up my resume, let me get back out there. Was that a thought for you?
It was. I was applying for. I really wanted a work from home job because the schools. I didn't feel. Schools closed down, so sending my kids to school wasn't a thing. I'm like, I have to have a work from home job. There really isn't anything else that I can be doing and still be a parent in this particular time. So it literally for me was applying for 20 something jobs a day for a while and getting so discouraged with that. I'm like, I have so much talent. I do so many different things. Like there's no reason that I can't be, making money to support my family. And that's from the coffee, the skincare. I make the t-shirts, the hoodies and all that kind of stuff. So I have different talents. It was just a matter of kind of tapping into those things.
Who around you in terms of family is really helping you to keep pushing and keep achieving these goals? Because there's some people in families that would say that's stupid, you need to go find you a regular job, because healthcare is still a thing. Why are you out here trying to do all these different things? You already wear multiple hats. Just go out here and find a regular job. Be like us regular people. Don't do anything that's risky. How have you managed that?
I got a lot of that. I did get a lot of that. Even with the name of the business, I got a lot of that. But I won't say I've been rebellious, but I know sometimes there are just things that I know that are right with everything in my being. So my parents, once they saw kind of how things were going with the coffee, and then my mentors more than anything. One of my mentors, Mia Lamont, she pushes me outside of my boundaries, um, the beyond belief, things that I'm like, I can't even think about doing that. But it's about manifesting. And then my other mentor, Ryan Ray, kind of gave me the stepping stones on how to get to where I am so that I could come out of a solopreneur mindset up into an entrepreneur mindset so that, don't backslide.
Got it. So take me into your kitchen, sit me at your table and walk me through your step-by-step process of taking everything out of your mind, taking all that happened when you set up and everything just kind of came to you. Take me through the step-by-step process of how you took this leap of faith and started Blackology Coffee.
All right. So 4 years ago, I started talking to a company in New York about roasting beans for me because that was something that I wasn't able to do. I didn't have the equipment to do. I reached back out to that company and I literally started with 1 5-pound bag of coffee for the breakfast blend and the dark roast, and decided, let me bag some up, let me make some labels with my Cricut and my printer and take a picture and create a website and see what kind of happens from there. So, I started putting the pieces together. Like I never really wrote anything down. It just kind of started coming together. So after creating the website and announcing the business launch on the 13th, The ABC 11 News reached out on the 18th and wanted to do a segment at 11:30 that day. They wanted to come by at 11:30, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm not really in a position, like I don't have all of the things that I need to, really show someone that I have a business in place. But it was still all in my heart and all in my head. So I'm like, sure, come on by the house, because that's where everything is right now. And I had a few pour over devices that I was gifted from someone that had reached out from Get You Some Gear with different pour over brewing devices. So I made coffee, and Julie Wilson with the news. She actually did not come with a camera crew. She recorded everything with her iPhone, which was major because I'm super camera shy. Like I'll freeze up in a heartbeat. So I even felt like that was meant to be the way that happened. But yeah, she recorded it and she was like, it's gonna go live at 6 this evening. And then 6 o'clock, I saw myself on TV and I was like, oh my God, that's me. I was laughing the whole time. And then as soon as it ended, every social media page that I created, personal, business, email, phone call, just went absolutely insane. I had to silence the notifications on the phone. Like it was just,
wow.
We just saw you on the news. This is amazing. We're placing our order. Like we're doing this, we're doing this. And I had over 250 orders the first week of being on the news, and also had the funding to be able to purchase the product and make a profit that I was able to turn around and put right back into the business. So like everything that I needed in that sense was already there. As far as equipment, as I've grown, there again, the Chris McCauley with Get You Some Gear reached out to some of these coffee manufacturers like Mahlkönig, and was like, hey, this awesome girl just really launched a new business. She's a little behind trying to use household grinders. I was blowing out motors and in all these little household grinders trying to fill orders. And they literally gifted me a commercial coffee grinder that I was able to use at home in a 110, 120 volt outlet. And I was able to crank out the rest of the orders like in a matter of actually a day or two, I think, after I got that. And then other things just started coming. Like I don't know, the love, the support, the transparency, the being vulnerable with my following, letting them know like, hey, I appreciate your support. I am camera shy. I'm on camera. I don't know what I'm going to say to you, but I'm here. Do y'all have questions? Like just being able to really be me without judgment. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I actually want to pause right there because our workshop before this one was stop sitting on your assets. And my dad's a pastor in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and he led that workshop. And a lot about that workshop was almost all the time the things that you actually need are right there around you, but you have to be able to diagnose what's an asset. And I think it's amazing how we don't necessarily take news media as an asset, right? But it's your community, it's your local news, it's people who are readily available. They're always looking for stories to tell. And so whether you sought it out or it came to you, I think that example is the best way of saying you have an idea that you've been trying to go, and all of a sudden it's go time. And you didn't allow the first thought of, I don't have enough money, or I haven't written a business plan, or I don't have, a shirt or business cards yet. How can I use this? You just allow all these things to come together, and you're pushing through. The one thing I want you to be able to share with our listeners right now is what was your mindset like at that time, and how has your mindset evolved over these last several months?
I was operating from a place of fear at that time. I was excited, but I was also fearful. Am I making the right decision? What's going to happen next? And because you're supposed to have a business plan when you start a business, you know, if someone asks me a question, how do I answer it? But uh, being able to work with my mentor has taken me out of that operating from a place of fear. It's been a long journey and still a lot of work to do. But realizing that a lot of it is self work. So kind of shifting my mindset to one, really believe in me, because you know, it's a great product, and I'm not saying that because it's mine, but it's actually the coffees are great coffees. And
Absolutely.
I attribute that to my culinary background, because for me, it's all about taste. It's all about the flavor. So creating blends and finding single origin coffees that taste great. But taking that mindset and really pivoting into a space where I'm believing in myself. I'm not operating in a place of fear, because by putting that negative energy out, that typically is what would come about. So if you manifest exactly what it is that you want, I'm realizing now that there really is no goal that's unattainable. It's just how much you believe in it. As to what you can do. And even now, I still find myself kind of operating in some places of fear from time to time. But like my mentor said, she said, when I set my goals, I need to set them to the point that set a goal to the point that it makes your butthole pucker up when you think about it. It has to make you that uncomfortable for you to be able to get to the next level.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'm put you on the spot real quick. Put you on the spot. What are, because there may be folks listening either right now or in the future who may say, okay, well, operating from a place of fear is kind of where I am now, but I have no idea of getting out of that. What are the 3 steps that individual can take to move from a position of fear to a mindset of abundance?
All right. So the first thing I would say, which has probably been one of the most influential pieces of advice I've received, is we all have a feeling of intuition. And what you're thinking, feeling, believing, if you feel in your head, your heart, and your gut, if all of this is in alignment and it feels right, go for it. If it's something that if it's something where there's something that maybe feels off, it might not be the timing for you to do it, but don't give up on it. Keep cultivating that idea. Do research, follow people that do exactly what it is that you want to do and learn from them. And honestly, once you're in a space where it just feels right, go for it. Because if it feels right, chances are the universe, God, whatever your beliefs are, has everything that you need. Um, Even using the example of people ask for a baking business, for instance, which I've also had a baking business. um, you've been given these ingredients in life. You've been given the flour, the eggs, the milk. It's a matter of you taking all of these things and coming together to create, you know, what that item is. And I mean, the other thing is it's okay to fail. That's another thing. So if you are operating from a place of fear and you want to go for it, I say go ahead and go for it, because social media is really good about giving feedback on different things. Like I've seen um, some of my following, they're like, hey, you know, your website formatting isn't right. I'm like, well, that's that's good to know. Like people will give you honest feedback without hurting your feelings or things like that. So I don't know. Maybe that's probably it.
Okay, good deal. So real quick, because I think I'm a coffee head now. So just a small bit about me, since we're actually still just getting to know each other. When I went to grad school, I became like a coffee fanatic, not because of the taste, but because it became like a mistress of mine. And like if I was studying or if I had, if I was writing my dissertation, like the idea of having it like where people have their phone was just always, a good thing for me. And like I would be the one that would dump it out if it got cold just to heat up some more and put some more in. So that's me about coffee. What does coffee mean to you? Number one, and then where does Blackology come from?
Coffee for me is a place of relaxation and escape, honestly. My favorite thing to do and the way that I'm most productive is sitting by my front window with a cup of coffee. It could be daytime, morning, nighttime, it doesn't matter. It is an escape for me. It does give me a little bit of energy in the process, but I'm able to brain dump. My best ideas come when I'm drinking coffee. It's an experience, if you will. And what was the other question?
Blackology.
Blackology. Where did Blackology come from? All right, so Blackology is it's a play on a lot of different things. So primarily it is the study of Black coffee. That is for the folks who really love coffee, who love the flavors, who want to know where it comes from, who have a respect of how a bean is roasted, what it sounds like when you tap it on a table, things like that. It is also, because it was launched when it's also a form of a Black Lives Matter movement for some people. It's literally intended to be whatever it's meant to be for whomever it's meant to be. People ask me all the time, who's your target audience? I don't have one. They're like, you have to have one. Yeah, I don't have one. It's truly meant to be a lot of different things. It's meant to be a community factor. It's meant to be a coffee factor. It's meant to be an educational factor, which we'll be incorporating this year. Teaching people that coffee has a natural flavor to it without all the stuff that we add. That's the educational piece, cultivating that love of Black coffee. Like our dark roast coffee, there's natural chocolate and vanilla undertones if you brew the coffee properly. Everybody thinks the household coffee brewer is the best and quick way to make coffee. And it's good for, let me run out the door and, go to work and let me just have a good cup of coffee. But if you really take the time and extract the flavor slowly from the coffee, it's a completely different experience.
I will have to fund my mother's experience for this because she loves the smell, but I think she speaks for a lot of people. The smell never really, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It doesn't do it what it's supposed to do. It's almost like you come home for Thanksgiving and it's like, oh Lord, thank you, Jesus. And then you eat it, and you're like, And someone asks you, how's the mac and cheese? Mm-hmm. And so I think that part of it is important to just for those who enjoy the smell of it to actually, match the smell and the taste. I think that's important. So I'm going to, as soon as you come out with this, I'm going to sponsor me and my mom. We're going to be on this together so that she can become a coffee fiend just like me. Okay. So now that you mentioned that Blackology coffee does have an undertone to it, what is life like as a Black woman entrepreneur in 2021?
It has been great for the most part. I actually had come up with a tagline that I wasn't sure I wanted to release, that there's no better time to be Black than right now. With the news segment, there were some phone calls and emails and social media that had racial slurs and things like that. Comments on the news article that were kind of hard to stomach. But what I realized about that, again, it came down to the timing, because if that was me, a few years back, I would have probably replied to some of those folks. But what I did instead was read the comments and took it as a learning experience, that people feel different things. there were a lot of people that felt like the news just did the segment because the name had Black in it and I was a Black single mom. But there's more, there's so much more to it. But past, once that stuff started dying down, being embraced with open arms by so many different communities, so many different people, just opens the door to community. Like that's I feel loved by the community. So
Fantastic. What are the biggest victories that you've seen thus far while having Blackology Coffee?
biggest victories. Transitioning to a pop-up shop was a pretty big victory. Like I compare it to like a mobile Starbucks. We're like a mobile Starbucks. We pop up. We do the lattes. We do black coffee. That was a huge milestone for me to know that that was even a thing. It's very tedious work, but it's well worth it. Let's see. Another one, I would say, like we're over 3,000 orders as a whole from July up until now. So that was huge. And then now being able to ship to the military bases in Japan and some different places in Canada has been another one. So we're all across the US, but now we're also shipping to Japan and Canada.
And this is all under a year's time.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. Okay, now with the victories, what are some challenges that you faced in starting and growing?
Starting and growing. Well, as you can imagine, as an entrepreneur, there are good days, there are bad days as far as revenue that comes in. There are challenges like the US Postal Service that's losing packages and trying to decide, do I go with the gut feeling of reshipping these packages to these customers, although financially it's not something that makes a lot of sense. But me in the good faith reshipped everything that was lost. Some different shipping, really, I think really shipping has been the biggest thing. Some packages arrived damaged where others didn't, which, you know, you feel bad. You don't know what happened in transport, but you feel bad. So you want to resolve the problem. But yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge, I would say. Those are the two.
Okay. And then looking into your short-term and long-term goals of Blackology Coffee and even Jonesy's, what are some of those?
Let's see. Well, for Jonesy's, poor Jonesy's got neglected as Blackology started going up. So Jonesy's will be making a comeback in a different kind of way. I haven't quite pinpointed how just yet, but possibly tying the two together in some different ways. And then with Blackology, it's like storefront or no storefront right now. Being mobile is something that's truly beneficial right now. We're still not out of the COVID thing. We don't know what it looks like. So going to open a storefront, is that the right thing to do right now? I still struggle mentally with that one. But short term, I am considering getting like a trailer where we can pop up with a trailer somewhere, and then maybe later transition into a storefront.
Dope. So it's like a food truck for coffee on wheels?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right. So what are some of the tools and resources that were necessary for you to get started?
Reading books about business, reading books about self-improvement and mindset, listening to podcasts. That was the self-work is the biggest part of all of this. Other resources, our Wake Tech Community College here has a small business program that's pretty much free for entrepreneurs. So reaching out to find out the things that I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. So, reaching out to people who specialize in business is definitely a resource. Um, Things that I'm reading right now. So I read a book called She Means Business. That was some different obstacles that can't think of her name. Some obstacles that were being overcome from, this this girl wanted to go out and be a doctor, and then she changed her mind like a year in and was like, nope, I'm meant to be an entrepreneur. So kind of reading books to embrace that. Reading books about processing emotions, because that's another one. You really have to think clearly when you make decisions, because the fear factor of making the wrong decision definitely weighs in. Money mindset books, spiritual mindset books, some of everything. I kind of dibble and dabble in a lot of things. But let's see, what other resources? Grants have been good. Grants are very tedious to apply for, and sometimes that I compare that to applying for jobs. Sometimes you put a lot of work into it, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. But when it does, it's a really great feeling. So yeah, I'd probably say that's it for resources. And mentors. That's the last one.
And I was just going to ask you about that. In terms of mentors, how essential have they been to your development, from a mental standpoint and even to grow as an entrepreneur?
They are dire. I don't know that I would be where I am without my mentors. And that's more because, again, I didn't realize that most of entrepreneurship comes from your mindset, your personal mindset, how you view yourself. But the self work has to be done first. One of my mentors tells me all the time that the self work was done after the business was launched, and it really should have been done in the beginning. So that's the model that's utilized there. Do the self work, and then you slowly start adding the other pieces and setting goals for your business.
Good deal. We had a question come up. I'm going to pause that because I'm on my last question now, and then we'll get to some good Q&A from our live audience here. But my last question really is not really a question, but I guess it is a question. How would you encourage those listening now who are going to end up listening here in the future? How would you encourage them to not just allow their dreams to remain dreams, but to begin putting action behind those dreams and starting something, either like if it's a business, an organization, nonprofit, you name it?
So advice there, I vision board, I brain dump, I journal, whatever is in my head at some point goes on paper. Whether or not it's organized, that's a different story, but things that I can go back to, because I'm able to flip back through some of the things that I've done and see, all right, well, I said this a year ago, and then I said this, and oh man, if I put these two things together, oh, that's a perfect idea. Like that, and like vision boards. I don't do the nice, neat vision boards. Mine are messy. I have stuff everywhere because for me, I'm a visual person. So when I see all of these images of things that I want to have, or things that are important to me, or family, like being able to see that every day is also what I would recommend. Do a vision board for the business that you want to start. Do a vision board for your personal life. And then I have a vision board for food too. That's another.
I could dig it. All right. So our first question from the chat: are your kids old enough to understand and react to your journey and success?
They are. So my boys are 6 and 12. My 12-year-old understands that mommy is working really hard and doing something that she loves, and he's sort of getting to that point where he wants to help out, as long as Fortnite and Minecraft don't get in the way. But my youngest son, I think he's starting to get the message. He's like, "Are we going to Blackology today?" Or like, "Are we doing a pop-up shop?" Is what he means. I'm like, "Yeah, we're going to Blackology today." He's like, I think he asked me the other day. He's like, "Is that your full-time job?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's my full-time job." But he likes to help. Even at the pop-up shops, he likes to try to work the cash register and talk to the customers. So I think that he gets the coffee business aspect. As for Jonesy's, I don't think he understands Jonesy's just yet. He knows that we have a product, but he's more interested in creating a Jonesy's farm, which is something that I could look into and see where his creativity is going there. But yeah, I think they're getting the gist of it.
Good deal. That question was from Crystal McDonald. Our next question is from Nicole Ruffin. What do you look for in a mentor, and how did you find your mentors?
What do I look for in a mentor? So with mentors, I look for people who are in places that I want to be, and have a track record of, I don't want to use the word success because that means different things to different people, but just watching, like, both of my mentors are also friends now, over time. So what's important to them, what their values are, where they are in life, how did they get there? Those things are important to me. And as far as how did I find them, one of my great friends, Kimberly Winborn, she's like a sister to me. I swear she knows everybody. Anytime I'm looking to find something or someone, I reach out to her, and she's always got like the perfect people in mind. So having a conversation with a mentor first and foremost, finding out what their values are and are they in alignment with your values, is probably one of the most important pieces.
Good deal. Our next question is from Steve. For those who do have questions and do not want to write in the chat, we can make you live so that you can ask your question. So when I get finished with Steve's question, if you do have a question, go ahead and unmute and go ahead and ask your question, okay? And that's going to be after I do Steve's question. So Steve's question is, what was the most important thing you realized about yourself doing self-work before starting these businesses, or right after you started these businesses?
Most important, I was really doubting myself. Like I everything that I said or did, I'm like, can I really do this? Like, instead of just being confident in it and being like, oh yeah, I can go out and do this, I'd be like, yep, I'm gonna go do it. But can I do this, or should I be doing this? So that second guessing myself, which has never worked out. Go with the first instinct. Because I actually kind of made a correlation between test taking and intuition with that first answer. I will go and change the answer in a heartbeat, and the first answer was the right answer, but I changed it to something else. So that's my basis for that.
Are there any questions from those who are on live today? All right. Well, I always wrap up our podcast by giving, and I know that you've already given a lot of encouragement today, but I think, those who are really in this mindset momentum piece are embracing the encouragement. They're embracing, seeing people and seeing themselves, in a position to thrive. You said it's all about mindset. Like, once you get that mindset that you can do something, once your head, your heart, and your gut are aligned, you can take that action. And so when I start any keynote I give, when I start any workshop I give, I always start with a quote from Dr. Benjamin Mays. I have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it, forced upon me, can't refuse it, didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give an account if I abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but an eternity is in it. I ask you at this time, as we get ready to close, what are the final words of encouragement you have for our audience, for those who will be listening here soon, as they're anticipating taking the leap of faith and turning their dreams into reality?
Last word of advice is definitely go for it, but make sure you do the self-work. That's the hardest thing to do, is the self-work. But I promise you, if you at least put a little bit of effort into it, it's going to make all the world a difference.